Hello everybody and welcome to one more video on big units, and this time it is the one of the actions of the famous blue book, which is this one here, already old but recently it came out on in PDF format and can be bought at a rapid fire site. And this is the famous Ozereika landings. The Germans have been defeated a few weeks ago, before February 1943, of course, at Stalingrad. Now the Russians are trying to envelop them with two different operations and to cut them off in the Caucasus and forcing them, of course, to a second massive surrender. This landing, even if it was relatively well prepared, it will be a complete failure. This is February in 1943. February, it's extremely cold. The water is absolutely icy. The landings depend on these kind of boats here. Some very old Czarist barges called Bolinders, but in Sweden, decades before the action happened. They will be towed by those destroyers, so which is not a very good idea. They will be extremely slow, very old engines, so they have to be towed. Two of them will never get to the beach. They will transport 30 M3A1s, American tanks, Lend-Lease tanks. So only a parcel of those will arrive to the beach. One Bolinder will be hit by fire. Another one will be hit by will in fact hit underwater hedgehog. So things start to go particularly bad. Also, the naval shelling from destroyers. I even placed some extras here, like these brown cutters. Of course, they're not here. They were river boats, but they look nice. So the bombardment will fail to find the German artillery pieces that you can start to see around here, more or less. One here, another one over there, and another one over there, and even the over there the Romanian gun, the Romanian battery. So this is to be a failure, and it is in fact studied in the nowadays Russian academies as a way not to conduct a naval assault. In fact, it went bad as many also allied operations like the Ep and others, like Market Garden and things like that, of course, which when they were too imaginative, they generally went very bad, which is a characteristic of World War II. At least of these kind of famous operations, particularly, of course, the failed one. Of course, D-Day is a different thing. It went particularly well, under many people's expectation, of course. So you can see here a very relatively large assault force with some fire support. The masters only say that we should only use the gun of a destroyer, but I placed a few more things here, as you can see, the broom cutters, and so you would have a particularly interesting action, because also of the variety of the troops. You have M04s, minesweepers, together with the DBPR 165 small landing craft to transport jeeps and small artillery guns. Um, then you have the Bolinders, of course. You have destroyers. You have naval infantry, the 255 or 55th, if you want, naval infantry brigade. Only two of the battalions would get to shore. The other ones would be sunk with the crafts that were carrying them, which will be, of course, a big problem, because one third of the force was already out of action before hitting the beach. The objective was, of course, to take Yuzhnaya Ozereika, as you can see here in the map. I placed one extra house to look more beautiful, and of course the aim was then to get to Glebovka, and then of course to get to the outskirts of Novorossiysk, which would be in that direction over there. Of course, there is a valley, as you can see, surrounded by relatively forested hilltops, I mean, more or less. So there's also going to be an air assault. I placed here a TB3. In fact, it could be also the copy of the Dakota DC3, the Russian-built EL2s. Probably it would be that one, but I have this one in my stash, so I built it because the Russians, in fact, they use these big things to land paratroopers in the 30s. But this aircraft, in fact, they continued to operate up until V-Day. So I like to place it here. Most probably it would not be this one, but even so, it looks very cute. So they would also release paratroopers. There will also be Russian paratroopers. The defenders would be a mix of Geberjägers, of artillery, Romanian infantry, um, more Romanian infantry over there and over there, the Romanian artillery also, and even some anti-tank unit that would arrive as, if I'm not mistaken, as reinforcement. Lebovka, of course, has a large structure over there, which is the church. I mean, there's no instructions of that sort from masters, but it's a Russian church, so we think quite nice on the table. There's also this a little bit out of ordinary thing, which is, of course, some gliders. It was thought the gliders were thought to be used. They ended up by not being used, but they had these two G11s, so I placed them on the table. There will also be some air support by the famous Polikarpov PO2s, which was in fact something that would be used everywhere and by everybody in the Soviet side. Very sorry. So this was the action. This is the kind of very different, as you can see, different kind of units that would be used in this campaign from both sides, which makes I think the table very, very colorful and very interesting, and a little bit different from the usual landings that we are used to see, Safi and Dieppe and D-Day and Sicily and that kind of stuff. So it's a different thing in World War II, or Tarawa, of course, or Iwo Jima, Okinawa, etc. I think it gives some color to your collections. At least it gives to mine, and gave me, of course, lots of pleasure making all this stuff, because most of them was in fact scratch built, because this thing, in fact, as far as I know, at least in our scale, doesn't exist that much. There are, of course, also regular model kits. So let's start with model kits, exactly. So you see here the PSC M3A1s, Lend-Lease American tanks that were used in for the landing. You see 4D jeeps over there and over there and over there. This is Chinese, very nice Chinese and very cheap Chinese brand. Here you see Polikarpov by Kovazavody Prosejov by KP. The G11s are from NTI. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they were vacuum formed. Yeah, they are a very interesting piece of kit also. Of course, then you have the very big TB3, which is something huge, as you can see here. I mean, it's huge and beautiful, or if you want huge and ugly, whatever you prefer. Very big thing, I think close to 60 centimeters width, it's width, that you can say, right? So it needs one of these big stands. Then the Romanians are Romanian infantry's hat industries. There are some 3D printed French tows for the Revel 105 millimeter guns, cruise. Also, this upper blitz is also 3D printed. There's another one from, where is it? There was a second one. Here. This is Altaia, already made, simply painted. Continuing with brands. Then you have the Pegasus naval infantry. Very funny figures, multi-pose figures, a little bit complicated to build, but I think the final effect is quite nice. And I think in terms of brands, I think I've showed you already everything. Now for scratch built things. For instance, let's start with the Broncatters. Broncatters are here. So they are around 30 centimeter pieces. Everything is blue board, together with, of course, with, for instance, this Katyusha here. Rocket launcher comes from what? I think it already built, so probably from Altai or something like that. I think. In fact, there was a Broncatter model that used this kind of structure, this rocket launcher structure. The crew are Revel, German, painted as Russians. They go. I think they go nicely. You can see here. Oh, sorry. Let me place the T-34 turret on its correct place. It was sideways because of it was supporting the landings, as you saw previously. And this is something. I mean, I don't know where did it came from, but it came from where it came from. Well, from a plastic kit. I don't know. Frankly, I don't remember which. You have another one here with an older turret. One is the previous one was the Model 43 for that turret. This one is the Model 42. And another way of supporting the landings with a, let me place it on its place. Not on its place, but in a different position. So I made these things in order for the guns to swirl. And there's also a gun on the back. If I'm not mistaken, a 76.2 gun, if I'm not mistaken. So the same caliber as the T-34 turret. I think it was like that. I'm not sure. So Broncatters are quite nice models, even if not used here. But you can use them then later on even up to the Oder River, while conquering Germany in the end of the war. So this is a very ugly attempt of making a Russian destroyer. It came. I mean, this bow should be, especially the turret at the bow should be. I mean, at least some 5 centimeters to the back. It became a little bit. It looks like a goose or something like that. It became very strange. This destroyer, this Russian destroyer, was in fact a very beautiful destroyer. It became a little bit ugly. It looks like a, I don't know, fisherman's boat or something like that. It was in fact, I'm reading from a paper I have in the wall, of course. It was the T-412 Andrei Raskin. It was in fact the tug, the boat that was towing the Bolinder, one of the reasons for the failed attack, as I told you. Continuing with landing crafts, the Bolinder itself is also something big, as you can see. Okay. Again, Revel figures, plenty of scratch built structure, as you can see, everywhere. Anti-aircraft guns at the front. I know front is called differently in the Navy, but now I'm not remembering the name. Do you know what I mean? Then you have the MO4s submarine chasers. This one became pretty much as the original. They came better. They are also smaller, so they are this probably 4/5 of the original size. I always make stuff, scratch built stuff, always slightly smaller. I mean, going along with that philosophy of the smaller houses, etc. Otherwise, it wouldn't fit on this piece of water that you have here. Again, plenty of, not plenty. Everything is scratch built, as you can see. Only the figures are coming from the one I told you before, the German Revel set of sailors, which is in fact mostly built for their submarine in 1/72 scale. I think it is the main idea of Revel with that set of figures. Then, so there are 3 of them. Okay, and then you have the DB PR 165. I'm also reading, of course. This is very difficult to memorize. these small landing crafts they had, which in fact were used at Yuzhnaya Ozereika to land. So they would come up like this, of course, and then they would have to swirl and put their back to the beach and would land the jeeps and guns. Continue with the scratch built stuff. The guns are also scratch built. I used some leftovers of some shields from the 37mm packs, and I built the rest with pieces from all over. Together with the 76 infantry gun, which was also scratch built. Okay, and there's another scratch built 45mm gun. So the guns, I think I didn't tell you before, but they are 45mm guns, obviously, which is a Russian caliber. Germans had more or less the equivalent in 37mm. 37mm. Then the Gebirgsjäger are my last build. They are in fact Africa Corps figures with big milliput backpacks, with some added bikes, which are their means of transport in this campaign, and they became quite effective. Even the LMG became an MMG. Let me try to see if I can focus this thing. Okay, so I made a number of small pieces of plastic. I glued a number of small pieces of plastic for the LMG to become a MMG 34. Of course, all the fortifications are scratch built also. The church is also scratch built, and I think most of the rest is already shown. So this campaign will lead to nothing, but even so, one last thing. Sorry, that was scratch built. It was completely scratch built. The Russian paratroopers. So they are mostly legs of Luftwaffe ground personnel. Then torsos came from a little bit from everywhere, plenty of milliput, and then some airman heads from the plastic kits, especially the ones from rapid fire, from our rapid fire collection, because as you can see, I mean, I'm always painting the blue whenever I can, following a little bit master's ideas, and so I have plenty of these heads, because generally one or two come in each plastic aircraft. So this is it. There are of course some plastic figures in the 105mm Howitzer guns that are not the original ones, in order to give some color. You can even see that Luftwaffe guy over there, very famous figure, of course. Everybody has it if you are around 50, probably like me. So there's also an FTF, first to fight machine gun that was part of the artillery unit, German artillery unit, in the area, and then there should be a Panzergray 50mm pack gun, but I don't have. I mean, I have several of them both in late war scheme for Ramka parachutists, for desert, for Deutsches Afrika Corps, but so I placed here a captured 47mm. So I skipped the 50mm gun by 3mm only. So this is a 47mm French gun, which was also scratch built, and it is in fact the one at I made this one for the Dieppe scenario, but it fits nicely here. Uniforms are the same shade of field gray, etc. So everything is okay. And I think I've shown you everything. So this is, let me try to show you a little bit from this area. Oops. And Ozereika is shown. I will not play this thing because, I mean, playing alone is a little bit boring, as you know. But I like to put it together, and I like to feel a little bit what this landing must have been. It must have been something awful. Russians had almost 100% casualties. After a few days of fighting, they were surrounded. They were heavily beaten, but as usual, they showed an incredible courage. But they ended up by being beaten. Even so, they attracted plenty of German units to this area, which allowed for a diversionary attack in another, a little bit close to this place. Diversionary attack to become the main focus of the Russian reinforcement, which was the Little Land, a very famous episode in World War II Soviet history. And from then on, they managed to achieve victory in the area. So I hope you have enjoyed, and see you soon in another big, not big battle, but in another scenario. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.